Well, the team over at Black Forest Labs has done it again. They just introduced the brand new FLUX 1.1 Pro Ultra. Let's jump in and see what that means. FLUX was already sort of at the top of the game when it came to generative AI images, with the exception of the brand new Recraft V3 model that was just released a few days before this. Now, they seem to be, in a battle here, and they've jumped back to the top of the pack, I think, with this new model. Ultra means that it actually has the ability to create 4 times higher resolution images, up to 4 megapixels. So that gives it an edge over most of the models that are out there on the market. Now, the other thing here is it also has a RAW mode, which we'll talk about in just a second. But you can see there's some really impressive images they have here. We're gonna do our own tests. I don't like cherry-picked images. Now it says higher resolution, no compromise in speed, over 2.5 times faster than comparable high-resolution offerings like Mystique and Ideogram, which, as you can see, take somewhere around 30 to 50 seconds in order to generate an image, while this purports to do it in under 10 seconds. And the other really interesting fact here is that it comes with something called RAW mode, and they say this is for creators seeking authenticity. RAW mode captures the feel of a candid photo, so it's less processed than you would get out of a normal photo that you generate with one of these models. But I don't want to take their word for it. Let's jump in and actually test this out. In order to do that, we're going to go over to pixeldojo.ai. That's my own set of tools that I've created that you can join and subscribe to as well. We've got access to over 20 cutting-edge AI generative tools, not only images, but also video, text to video, image to video, Stable Diffusion 3.5, you name it, I've got that tool in here. So we'll jump in and we'll load up the FLUX tool, and let's do some side-by-side comparisons between FLUX Pro, Pro Ultra, and then Pro Ultra plus RAW. So going from left to right here, we've got FLUX Pro 1.1 on the left. In the middle, we've got Pro 1.1 Ultra. And then on the right, we've got Pro 1.1 Ultra. And then you can see down here at the bottom, we've got this RAW mode, and that's enabled. I have my standard series of test prompts. The first one we're gonna do is Girl with Pearl Earrings by Vermeer became real girl and is walking in the street of New York, 70s style photo Kodak. And here we can see the side-by-side output of all 3 models. Now, I do think the FLUX Pro 1.1, that probably has the most adherence to the original prompt. You still have the pearl earrings in the middle one and in the right one. I do like the fact that in this right-hand photo with RAW enabled, it does have kind of a more natural look, a little bit less processed. Pretty interesting overall. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, we'll go ahead and save all 3 of these images so that you can compare them in our gallery. The reason I want to do that is because you can see these in all of their full resolution glory. You can see whereas a normal Stable Diffusion or FLUX Pro model is going to produce a 1024 by 1024 image, this is actually 2048 by 2048, so exactly 4 times the number of pixels. Normally, through that type of upsampling or upscaling, you're going to lose some of the quality. There are going to be some things that change, but in testing this model so far, at least, I haven't really seen that be the case. For our second prompt, we have panoramic photo, lava river flowing on the black earth. The shores are beautiful sakura gardens, heavy snow falling, captured in slow motion, beautiful, calm, and passionate. Contrast, light and shadow, fire and snow, ultra realistic render, epic movie scene. And interestingly, if you notice that, I don't know if you caught that on the video, but the Pro 1.1 Ultra images actually rendered a little bit faster than that of FLUX Pro 1.1. Unexpected. And here are the results left to right: 1.1, 1.1 Ultra, 1.1 Ultra RAW. And you really do need to just download these and see them firsthand. These uncompressed ping files are about 8 megabytes each. And when you zoom in, you can really see a lot of these fine details that you miss with these other models that don't put out this higher resolution. For our third image, we've got an avatar picture for an AI agent in futuristic post-apocalypsis steampunk environment. I don't even know if post-apocalypsis, I think it should be a post-apocalyptic, but hey, we're just using these standard prompts, so I'm not gonna go against it. And here are the 3 results, all very different. So I think that's the interesting thing is even though, you can say these are all kind of the same model, they're all based on FLUX Pro, but that higher resolution, obviously you get a completely different image. And then the same goes for the RAW mode. You get a completely different image there as well, even though it's just toggling on and off RAW. You can even see the same thing if you use the exact same seed The raw image comes out as a completely different image than the not raw image. So it's a little bit interesting to watch that firsthand. Next up, we have black and white portrait of an old but happy French sailor, 50mm photography, Canon EOS. And we'll see which one of these comes back first. I'm going to leave these up so you can see the generations happening in real time and who's going to be the winner. The last time it was actually the 1.1 RAW. Oh, 1.1 RAW came in again almost the same time as FLUX 1.1 Pro, and then lagging behind a little bit, we had the middle 1.1 Ultra. So again, good but different results from each. Actually, I think I prefer the two on the ends, the 1.1 Pro on the left and the 1.1 Pro Ultra RAW on the right. Now, of course, again, the big thing here is you've got 4 times the pixels in these center 2 images, so you get a lot more detail, a lot more refinement out of them than you're going to get straight away out of that Pro model. But what it does show you is that even though they sort of upscaled this in a massive way, the number of pixels in the image, you still retain that same amazing quality that we've known and seen from FLUX Pro. Now, in earlier testing before the video, this prompt came out with a really cool result. Capture the essence of a seasoned blues guitarist passionately strumming his electric guitar while seated on a stool along a Bronx sidewalk on a Saturday night. Behind him stands a beautiful woman of color, fully immersed in the soulful music he creates. Very interesting. So we get very different lighting in all 3 of these. You can see the one from FLUX Pro on the left. It's got this kind of warmer tone to it, but maybe a little less natural. I'm not sure. The middle one, I don't know, they seem to progress from least natural to most natural. The raw mode on the far right, I mean, this looks like straight up you could have an iPhone take this picture with a flash on, right? It's really natural looking in the lighting, and it almost looks as though there's flash and a little bit harsher lights on things like the bottom of this chair and such. But man, really good result from these models. I think the other thing to note here is we've come to this point where I don't know that if you showed me any of these photos, especially the raw one on the right, I don't think I'd be able to tell you that these aren't natural photos. They aren't real photos. I don't think I'd be able to discern that they're AI generated. Now, maybe if you go into the real deep details and you analyze the whole image, maybe there's something out of place here that I'm not seeing offhand, but just glancing at these, I think they'd fool almost anyone. For this next one, let's switch it up a little bit. We'll do a landscape. Leaves of the red maple are falling to the peaceful pond with carps, Japanese style, peaceful, realistic render. This is interesting. I see some problems with all 3 of these images. So the one on the left from FLUX Pro, most of the koi are actually outside of the water, which is obviously impossible. They can't float on the water. You see the same thing in this 1.1 Ultra. All the fish are on top of the water, floating just like the leaves. It's also not very realistic. You can see it's more cartoony, even though it says in the prompt, realistic render. Now, the one on the right, I'd say is maybe arguably the best of the 3. You still get this somewhat unnatural look to the leaves though, and then it still appears that some of the carp, some of the fish might perhaps be out of the water, although most of them do appear to be under the water. Really weird though. I wonder why it struggled so much with this prompt. Next up, we have the lovely world of wool felt. A mouse, a crocodile, and a giraffe are having tea with strawberry pie. Realistic hyper detail, soft focus, chibi tilt shift, super lighting, volumetrics, John Klassen, in focus, 80mm lens, large aperture, light colors. Now, a lot of this stuff is carryover from the days of Stable Diffusion XL, where you had to sort of give it names of artists and such. You don't really have to do that anymore with these newer models, but nonetheless, here's the result that we have. And these are actually, I would say, all fairly similar. Now, there's something interesting going on with the giraffe over here on the far right, the raw mode image. I don't know what this is underneath its chin. It looks like it's fibers that just started going crazy. Otherwise, it's a really cool looking image, but that sort of detracts. I wonder if we generate another one here. We just give it another shot. Let's see what it comes back with. Now, these other 2 are all quite good. You can see there's kind of natural lighting. It looks like it's wool, the soft textures and everything else that you'd expect. That's a better result. We don't have that weird abnormality now here on the far right one, the ultra raw mode, but You know, I don't know. We might have just had a bad seed on that one, some weird generation. Here's a really simple prompt. We've got woman in the red dress playing cello. We get back really different styles here. The one from FLUX 1.1 Pro over here on the left almost looks like an oil painting, sort of stylized, artistic, brush strokes, not quite a natural photo that you'd expect. Now, the one in the middle, I would say definitely looks like a photo, sort of abnormally holding the cello bow, but otherwise pretty natural and good looking. Now, the one on the right, I'd say again, it looks like, this could just be a photo that somebody snapped on their smartphone. It definitely has that kind of raw, less processed look to it. Really interesting result nonetheless. Next up, we've got sushi, a close-up advertising shot of beautiful sushi set on a wooden table. And I don't have much to say about these. They all look pretty darn good. The quality's there. They look really nice. I think the lighting and such is a little less harsh, a little more maybe realistic on the far right, the raw mode one, but otherwise, all three really good quality images. And for our last prompt, let's go with a portrait of a red-headed woman with beautiful green eyes, freckles, wearing an emerald necklace, photography, portrait photography, 50mm lens, Leica photography. And these are all quite nice results. Again, you see the raw mode looks a little less processed. I'd say the one in the middle looks the most processed. The skin, you get sort of that glossy look to it that's not quite realistic. You have too much symmetry in the freckles and such. They all sort of have flux chin, a little bit less the one on the right here. Flux chin is that little dimple that you see in the middle of most women's images that are generated with flux. That's kind of the one giveaway. Otherwise, prompt adherence is spot on all of these, as you can see. And I'd say that raw mode definitely does give you a little bit more of a candid, raw photo, less processed look. So there we have it. That's our sneak peek at the brand new FLUX 1.1 Pro Ultra and Ultra with raw mode. Go ahead and check these out over on Pixel Dojo. I'll drop a link in the description to the gallery so you can look at all of these images yourself, download them and check them out in their full resolution glory. You really get to see some extra details that you can't pick up in a video like this. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, I'm Brian Levitt, and we'll check you next time. Thank you so much.